What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stokastic here on the Odd Shopper channel, coming to you with a Week 7 edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks NFL. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Goes a long way for me on this video, goes a long way for you. That way you become a prize whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. My friends, Week 6 was an absolute smash here in the prop streets especially. It was really, really great stuff. Ended up on a couple of interesting plays. The Jets +7. Didn't even need the points. That would have been nice to be playing the money line there. But overall, a really profitable week was had, and that is the goal, of course. What sucks is Michael Pittman had a phenomenal game. They had to air it out and come from behind mode the whole time against Jacksonville. And of course, didn't matter. He doesn't get in the box. But I'm going to talk through that situation, a couple more as well. Looking forward to Week 7. I think it's a really interesting one. No crazy totals there, except for that Sunday night festivities we got going for Philly and Miami. Going to be a fun one there. This is also a fun one. If you're in one of these 6 states, the great states of New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, Kentucky, Colorado, or Iowa, if you're in one of those 6 great states, you have access to Bet365. There will be more states coming soon. But you bet $5 at the link below. You're going to get 150 in bet credits. That is awesome stuff. It's only if you're 21 and over. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. But wanted to throw that in here from the get-go. I'll talk about them a little bit later. But 11 games on Sunday. Going to be an awesome day because my Minnesota Vikings, they don't play till Monday night, so I can't be miserable till then. I'll probably be miserable anyway because of that. Producer Jacob, hey, what's up, pal? Let's get to the picks. Producer Jacob decided to tell me before this game started that he has interest in the Cleveland Browns, of which I love the Cleveland Browns defense. There's really no doubt about it. They have been the focal point of this team. What an incredible win they had in the slop, in the absolute, not frozen tundra of the dog pound or whatever. Anyway, Cleveland, they played really good football on the defensive end. You got just enough from PJ Walker. And you saw a W there against San Francisco, their first loss of the season, but 19-17 there for the Browns. Now they go on the road into a dome here in Indianapolis, taking on Gardner Minshew and the Colts. Yeah, a couple of backup QBs here. Deshaun Watson going to be out yet again here this week. Now, we're going to see a defensive pass rush that is obviously something else on the Cleveland side. There's not really any doubt in my mind that they're going to be able to get after the quarterback. However, the Colts offensive line has been much better in terms of being able to run the football, establish the run, if you will. Ryan Kelly been the number 1 rated center in all of PFF grading. You got a left tackle in Bernard Raymond, who's been really, really good here as well. I think this offensive line has really outperformed expectations and giving Gardner Minshew a little bit more time than not. Now, again, does that matter when you have Myles Garrett on the other side? Probably not. Does it matter when you've got Zadarius Smith? I miss you, by the way. Zadarius Smith on the other side of this one? Yeah, it doesn't. But I think you're still going to see a very pass-centric game plan here for Indy because Gardner Minshew, that is his skill set. It has to be done. 55 pass attempts against Jacksonville. Of course, it wasn't come from behind mode, but still, I think that there are going to be opportunities for the Colts to move the ball down the field. And I'm looking on the outside here with Michael Pittman and this opportunity he has against Greg Newsome. This is a second-year corner out of Northwestern. He's a frail little guy. And let me just tell you, Michael Pittman is an absolute dude. Maybe they try to bring over Denzel Ward a little bit to help out. Top 5 pick from once upon a time, long time ago in a galaxy far away, also known as the Ohio State. I'm very much looking forward to that Saturday football game. Penn State, Ohio State, going to be rocking. But friends, I know Michael Pittman didn't get it done for us in the anytime touchdown department, but he still got targeted at a ridiculous clip. You still saw this Indy team more than happy to give Gardner Minshew the reins. Not more than happy they want Anthony Richardson out there, but with him out for the season, it's going to be a healthy dose of Josh Downs and a healthy dose, of course, of Michael Pittman. 14 targets, 9 catches, 109 yards. I want to be a little bit smarter here. I ended up getting in on this number at 48.5. I know it's moved 4 yards to 52.5, but I still like it at that number. Would have been a lock there at 48.5. I bet that on Monday or Tuesday. It was really, really early in the week that popped up on a couple of different sites. Now, generally, your props aren't dropping until later in the week when there's major injury situations, but I think this was one of the first teams that rolled out props for the week, mainly because Kylan Granson was announced as he was going to be out for a long time. Jelani Woods continues to be on the IR. Otherwise, it's been a pretty healthy football team. The Cleveland side, don't really have anything to add there. I'm going to be paying attention to that running back situation. Kareem Hunt did get dinged up. He's questionable entering this one. Maybe you get some value in trying to take Jerome Ford where there's some middled props. And we will talk about middled props very, very shortly. But until then, Michael Pittman, over 52.5 receiving yards. Michael Pittman, anytime touchdown, is going to get a lean play, whereas the over of the yardage gets the like play. I think he runs it back here. If Cleveland is successful defensively, well, not going to stop Indy from throwing the ball to their number one. It's just not. One of the better props on the board here. Let's run it back this week, my friends. There aren't a lot of spots where I want to be attacking spreads on this slate. I'm just going to throw that out there ahead of time. I know a lot of people are tuning in, but however, these next two games we're going to cover, Buffalo, New England, Washington, the Giants, I have plays specifically on that. Now, there is one a little bit later here as well. So, hey, 3 out of the 11 games, maybe there is more interest than I thought. I guess they're just weird plays to me in general, but this one is the most straightforward thing that I have ever seen in my entire life. It is the Buffalo Bills taking on the New England Patriots. And Bill Belichick, there are whispers, if you will, that he could get fired. We done with this whole, which matters more, Belichick-Brady thing? Because I haven't heard that for a while. Yeah, because it hasn't been a conversation, because it would be a stupid thing to talk about. Mac Jones, not the dude. Just saying. The guy who's playing the actual football game matters more. And Michael Irvin went on a rant. I never talk about the actual media, but went on a rant that I 100% agree with. Tua Tagovailoa, he's a system quarterback. I hate the idea of a system quarterback because at the end of the day, you got to execute. People can try to bash Brock Purdy because he has great skill position players around him. And yeah, does he have Trent Williams, the best offensive line, the guy I would start a football team with tomorrow? Yes. Yes, he does. But it doesn't take away from the fact that you have to execute. And there are certain guys who execute better than other guys. Mac Jones, confirmed, doesn't execute. I'm not really saying anything that you don't know. You probably also don't need me to tell you that Josh Allen's to Stephon Diggs has been one of the more successful duos that we've had in the NFL over the last 2.5, 3 years. I miss you too, Stephon Diggs. God, Zadarius Smith and Stephon. Those were good days in Minnesota, but you know what? Why not just squander them? And anyway, I'm absolutely obsessed. Absolutely obsessed. Borderline lock here as well. The only reason that I haven't is because I got to make sure that you can get this 8 that's available right now on the Buffalo side of things. And as long as that continues, well, there's really no reason that you wouldn't bet it against New England here. -110, it's at Caesars at DraftKings, and that is it right now. It's 8.5 just about every single other place. This is just line shopping. That's what Odd Shopper is about, making sure you're getting the best lines every single day, that you're signed up at multiple sports books, and you get the opportunity to bet things like this, where you have the worst offense in football, teams that, the Saints have gone in and blanked them in their own building. Defensively, they lose Christian Gonzalez, the best cornerback in football through the first couple weeks, rookie cornerback at that. Torrin Labrum, quack, quack, go Ducks. But anyway, Buffalo -8. Pretty straightforward for me. Almost a lock, but not going to be over investing here on any kind of a spread. And this is probably the spot on the card that if you just wanted to not listen to me, I would totally understand. I would totally understand. But there's this thing called math, and there's this thing called Tyrod Taylor and Daniel Jones. And we don't even know necessarily how that's going to be shaking out here at the end of the day, but doesn't really matter to me because this offensive line is complete dog doo-doo. But the Washington Commanders have a couple of issues here trying to take advantage of lesser foe. We saw Arizona in week 1. They had a definite difficult time with them. We saw in week 2 with Denver, played a close 35-33 football game. Then they play Buffalo, get the doors blown off. Play Philly. Of course, they take them to overtime because why wouldn't they? And then Chicago blows them out of the building. Atlanta, they put the foot down there, at least 24-16, but kind of let them back into that game. You had Desmond Ridder at least effective there. I don't know what to tell you other than Washington plays competitive games. And the Giants, they have been, I believe, the worst team in football here. Them and Carolina, they could probably flip a coin for it. But I do think that will find some way to make this game competitive. Again, you don't have to listen to me. They're starting dudes off the street here on the offensive line for the Giants. But there is a 37.5 total. This is at 3 after opening at 1. And I am very, very, very convinced that you give me a key number like this for the road dog team, for the home dog team against a home, don't don't listen to me about this one. Just saying, a road favorite situation. I don't trust the Commanders to be that kind of a team. They give up lots of big plays in the passing game. Not that the Giants can take complete advantage of it. With Saquon Barkley back, he is one of those hashtag running backs that matter. There is no doubt about it for me. You saw him play a competitive game there in Buffalo. I think this one ends up being a competitive game as well. So standard juice, -105, anything there on a +3. I think you got to take it. Again, half unit. I am not going nuts in any way, shape, or form. Thumbs up, +3. Let's go. The Lions taking on the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm not lying when I say the Lions. Have some issues here at the running back position. David Montgomery officially out. Jahmyr Gibbs officially in. But what does that workload look like? You got a note. What is this Campbell quote about Jahmyr Gibbs? We're going to try to give him a full workload. We hope he can take a full workload. What are we even talking about here, dude? The guy wasn't playing 30% of snaps for you, and now he's going to be in like a full-time role, it sounds like. He did get up to 17 carries against Atlanta. Good to see. 19 official opportunities there in that football game in a 20-6 win. And Detroit, they find different ways to win football games defensively. They've had some really, really good things. Baltimore on the other side. For me, though, Detroit wants to establish the run here. And Jahmyr Gibbs, as special as he is, I don't know if this is a spot where you let him get unleashed 20, 25 touches. You've got Demir Zigbo that could come in and play a little bit there. Or sorry, Divine Zigbo. You got Craig Reynolds as well, who's dinged up. He's questionable for this game. David Montgomery has been an absolute workhorse back here for this Lions team. And if he's not going to be establishing it in the end zone or in the red zone, we got to look at him. Amon-Ra St. Brown props. You just have to. But I think this is a pretty efficient line here as it stands. I was hoping we would get this moving to 2.5. 2. Again, it was at 2.5 at open, but for only a quick second before people snatched that. Again, that half point is so gigantic, there aren't even words for it. The difference between 2.5 and 3 here is so enormous. If you could get a 2.5 for the Baltimore side, I do think Detroit's going to have some issues there in Baltimore doing what they want to do. Run the football. Let Jared Goff play positional football. Not be a system quarterback. I'm not going to have that conversation. But there are certain Alex Smiths and Jared Goffs where they are very, very good under certain parameters. But you open it up to them and you have to throw the ball 40 times a game. Things look a little bit different. And that's where I think Baltimore getting healthier at the wide receiver core. Zay Flowers has been awesome. Odell Beckham back. Rashad Bateman back. Nelson Aguilar playing decent in the slot, which is not something Philly fans want to hear. But Mark Andrews, that connection with him and Lamar Jackson here against a Detroit defense that, well, they've been pretty good. 13th amongst the entire NFL. Again, they're winning certain matchups. Aiden Hutchinson's going to win his matchup just about every single week on the left. Oh, I guess that's technically on the right side of that line. But anyway, you know what I'm getting at. We are getting at the opportunity to lean because I have no play from this one. Baltimore at 3 if you had to. But again, I have no idea what to make of Detroit and how they're going to handle this football game. This feels like a very, very efficient line to me. Again, no David Montgomery changes the entire complexion. He has been doing everything offensively there until getting dinged up against Tampa. And then, yeah, their defense just strangleheld Baker Mayfield. That's a weird way to phrase it. You know what? Next game, my friends. But first, bet $5 over at Bet365 in one of these 6 great states, that being Colorado, Iowa, New Jersey, Virginia, Kentucky, and Ohio. Awesome stuff when you sign up at the link below. $5 into $150 in bonus bets. It is really as simple as that. Bet365 has some of the most advantageous lines in the baseball streets, in the NFL streets, and hey, in the NBA coming soon too. 150 in bonus bets for NBA Lindy starting up on Tuesday. You're not going to want to miss it. So if you're in one of those 6 states, I repeat, Kentucky, Virginia, New Jersey, Ohio, Colorado, and Iowa, congratulations. You can sign up at Bet365. More states on the way. It's only for 21 and over, 18 and over in Kentucky. And if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Alrighty, y'all, back to the picks. Now, part of the Lindy charm, or what I think the Lindy charm is the fact that I'm trying to have fun, give you great information, but also not try to go crazy with explaining my spreadsheet and try to sound smarter than thou or holier than thou. And there's a lot of people who love to do that. Again, I could sit here, we could have conversations about those things, but at the end of the day, I know a lot of you are coming here just to get the picks. Totally fine by me. But then there's games like this fucker, where I am just convinced convinced that even though the data doesn't bear it out, even though it doesn't necessarily show up in the spreadsheet, Brian Hoyer is starting to feed Davante Adams. Period. End of story. No need to talk about it any further. I thought Aiden O'Connell was going to be the guy on Thursday. This news that Brian Hoyer is starting is 100% because Davante needs to get fed, and you're going to have the experienced quarterback do that because he knows how to do it. He's been doing it as a system quarterback. It's ironic that this is like the threading of the show, but he's been doing it forever as a backup, whether it was New England, whether it was Cleveland, where he's been everywhere. He's been everywhere, man. Shout out Johnny Cash, one of the real ones. But no doubt about it, Davante Adams comes out, quotes, they've won back-to-back football games, and he's unhappy, saying that, he wants to win the right way. And in his opinion, that becomes through him. And I don't completely disagree with him. I don't think that anything Josh McDaniels has done has been revelatory with this Vegas team. He definitely tore them down last season. Didn't look great. He ran Josh Jacobs into the ground. Then Josh Jacobs holds out. And now Josh Jacobs not going to get fed the same way you might have with an Aiden O'Connell. Saw double-digit targets for him in that spot. His best fantasy outing, bar none there from a passing game perspective. 11 targets next to Aiden O'Connell, 27.9 PPR points for all the people who care about such things. And I bet you do. But anyway, I am looking at Davante Adams as a Hulk slam, smash, home run lock of the day. And I'm not just doing it in one way. I am parlaying something together that's going to pay you a pretty penny over on DraftKings.com in the single game parlay street. So here's the game plan. I'm going to bet these individually. I've also already bet this parlay, and you should too. You want Davante Adams over on yardage on DraftKings. Lowest number that exists on the board right now, 67.5 receiving yards. If you want to go to an alternate 80 plus, 100 plus, go and be my guest, because there is no doubt in my mind you could put reception in this. You could put anything positive for Davante Adams, and I'm going to find it to be pretty close to positive EV because, again, the Raiders, if they lose out on signing Davante Adams next season, they are setting their franchise back in such a way that it is insane. And again, I believe he is unencumbered, has an opportunity, free agent next year, sign wherever he wants. Vegas needs to appease him now. Jacoby Myers is good, but Jacoby Myers is not the guy you want leading your team in yardage at the receiving position. So, friends, this is a jam spot. Davante Adams over 67.5 receiving yards, plus his anytime touchdown is plus 165 against a Bears secondary that I'm pretty sure you and I could probably run a couple of successful routes against. Actually, that's a stupid thing to say. No, we couldn't. We would die. But we absolutely, no doubt about it, would have a better chance to do it against the Bears than about any other franchise. So I don't know what to tell you. It's a Bears secondary giving up 29th most yards through the air to the wide receiver position on the season, 267.3 yards per outing. Let that continue and let it go through one dude. Enjoy this one. Brian Hoyer going to feed that man. We go from a game that I had all of the interest in there, specifically with one guy, to the game that I have no interest in whatsoever. Thought about it, contemplated it, decided to pass. It's Atlanta, it's Tampa Bay, and I would say Atlanta, pretty impressive what we're seeing out of them this season, because relative to expectations, did you see them being 3-3? No. Did you see Tampa being 3-2? 3-2 against the spread as well. Falcons 1-5 against the spread, for what it's worth. If I had to do anything from an outright perspective, talked about it yesterday over on my buddy's radio show. Hi, Adam Kaufman, if you're watching. But just letting you know, Tampa Bay would be the side that I would be looking at. But they've already taken in an influx of money. The line's moved up a point there. Tampa Bay -2.5 is kind of where you'd be backing them at now. I find this to be a pretty efficient spot and not one that I feel all that inclined to tango with. But we just saw Baker Mayfield completely neutralized. The worst game he's played in, well, this season. I mean, he's played a lot of bad football games. I'm not going to joke with you. But the Rams season last year, he ended his season on a high note for sure. Felt better about this Tampa Bay offense than most people did. Thought Godwin, Evans could do just what they always do and continue to be exceptional wide receivers there and create mismatches in secondaries and find seams and Godwin out of the slot and the normal things that you expect from the Tampa Bay offense. That didn't happen last week against Detroit. But this is a bounce back type of a spot here for me. And I think it's a decent spot if you could have gotten the 1.5, but we missed that number. Bet earlier in the week if you're really looking for those kind of things. But I think this game just ends up playing out very gross, very ugly. Arthur Smith, as much as he's allowed Desmond Ridder to go out and sling it a little bit here of late, Kyle Pitts getting involved offensively for the first time, it feels like ever. Like the most heralded tight end prospect in forever, finally getting looks. Enjoyable to see, but it doesn't do a whole hell of a lot for me in the betting streets here because I do expect Atlanta to be a run-first team with Tyler Algier, Bijan Robinson just running into the back of that Tampa Bay team. And Tampa Bay, once upon a time, a complete run funnel, like a complete, they just shut up the run is what I'm getting at. So a pass funnel, if you will. But I am going to be getting away from this one and just shorting the offense if I do anything. 37.5, low number. It could probably be a point or two lower, but I'm not going to pull the trigger on it. I feel like it's Atlanta and Tampa. Yeah, good for them playing better football than expected, but still not for me. Not for me. I was waiting all week long for this to change. All week. And about an hour before we started recording this show, it showed up for the first time. We got a 3.5 on the board. Now, why does this matter so much? Why does this half point matter so much to me? Well, it's the difference between running into that key number of 3, games tied going down to the end, and having that push and not losing your money, and getting a victory here if you back the road team. The inverse, 2.5, you end up losing on the inside of that number. That key number, that half point, is so valuable in football. We can sit down, we can talk standard deviations. We can do the 68, 95, 99.7. We can literally play it out all that we want to. But at the end of the day, when it went from 3 to 3.5, you had to pounce. And I think you got to go pounce right now and get at least a half unit on it here, like I did. Again, nothing drastic. But why does this matter? Well, Pittsburgh plus 3.5. I expect them to be competitive here in this football game because of one thing and one thing only. Deontay Johnson back. My friends, Deontay Johnson is a guy that we have to be looking at offensively as completely healthy. They took his time off the IR here. Just completely healthy here. Deontay Johnson. I need to get myself established there. Making room for Deontay Johnson on my card in some capacity or two once those props come out, because I'm going to be very, very bullish on them. But please, plus 3.5, that is the number that I was waiting for. It sat at 3 all damn week. It moved. Now you need to move too. Only book that is currently available is DraftKings. You're paying about 5-10 cents more juice than you are to get the 3, but trust me, friends, it is worth it. Perhaps our last opportunity to wager for or against. I don't know why you would want to do either of those things here in this spot. With Joshua Dobbs here at the quarterback position for Arizona. Miraculously, Kyler Murray coming off of that crazy knee injury last season got back to practice. 21-day window opens for him now. Expected back next week. And they need to make plans for the future very, very quickly, because if it's not going to be Kyler Murray to Marquise Brown, they need to not pay Marquise Brown. They need to trade him. They probably need to trade Kyler Murray. They need to suck, and then they need to draft a quarterback. That's the formula. That's like the formula for a lot of bad teams. So I'm not really breaking any kind of revelatory news. And obviously you take multiple shots to try to find a guy. Again, system quarterback Brock Purdy, last pick of the draft. You never know. You just simply need to move on and not give Kyler Murray any more money than you've already thrown into that money pit. And if somebody wants him, you let him get him. Marquise Brown, again, that is the big question for the offseason for Arizona, but we don't care about that right now. We care about how are we going to handle this football game? Well, there's a big question mark looming for Seattle come Sunday. DK Metcalf. Pete Carroll said that he views him as a true game time decision. Quote, he's a true game time decision. Literally, end quote. Good job, Eric. There's a reason I'm not in the media. DK Metcalf, friends, definitely feeling good about him sitting here. Just saying, I'm not confident in it. And this is the conversation I wanted to have when we talk middling. This is going to matter big time when we're talking about the NBA and trying to predict injury information. It's a majority of what I do on NBA Lindy's, and it's nice to get a little bit of a prequel for it. Again, that video will be up late Monday night, getting you ready for the Tuesday 2-game slate in the NBA streets. So if you enjoy my analysis in the MLB, which Dallas Garcia went yard, let's go. And then if you've loved my analysis here in the NFL, very profitable week 6, been up a little bit here. Nothing crazy here on the NFL season thus far, but hey, profit is profit. We take it, we move on. I'm feeling pretty confident that Jackson Smith-Njigba has the most middle line you've ever seen in your life at 34.5 here right now. He's starting to play more snaps as the season's gone along, has not more targets from Geno Smith, and I'm sure Kenneth Walker going to be a big part of people's portfolios in the DFS streets, and if you've got him in year long, he's probably the best running back play, period, going up against this putrid Arizona defense, ranked 32nd in PFF grading. But Jackson Smith-Njigba, if there is no DK Metcalf, the over of this specific number would be the best bet of the entire week, and it's not remotely close. Currently sitting at a number of books that aren't necessarily available right now. No major books. DraftKings, this number is not posted. FanDuel, this number is not posted. But it could get posted if there's an inkling that DK Metcalf will play. And he's still going to have to warm up, and he could still be limited, and there's a lot of ways that this doesn't pan out. Now, I want to reiterate, I would not like this bet or this number with DK Metcalf in at full strength. So understand that. You also need to have BetMGM or Caesars or another book that isn't one of the main ones in order to get this line early, because I doubt the main books, with the amount of exposure they will get to player props, will have this posted. But the prevailing number that I've seen at 4 different spots, that being Caesars for a quick second, got pulled down immediately. You had this at Unibet. Jackson Smith-Njigba, 34.5 receiving yards. He's only eclipsed it once, but it was last week against Cincinnati on the road. 5 targets, 4 receptions, 48 yards, and played his season high of snaps. I think he's trending up. He's going to get involved more and more. As much as I loved Tyler Lockett once upon a time, not getting the kind of separation that you would expect there at the wide receiver position anymore. Still winning some matchups, but DK Metcalf, he is obviously your number one. He's gone. Oh, these are absolute smashers. Would be looking at Lockett as well, of course. But Jackson Smith-Njigba, that would be the priority. A number 3, I guess, filling into a number 2 role. Can play more of that X wide receiver if need be. Jackson Smith-Njigba, go Ohio State. I bet them already too, Ohio State. Last week was a week of a lot of unders for me. I think a majority of them, a lot of people were in the comments saying, hey, I don't like to bet unders. Well, I get it. I also don't, because I just want to win bets, and I know that there's a reason single game parlays don't allow you to take and stack unders the way that you might want to. You can do it to some capacity, but everybody who posts the tickets online, you're seeing overs over and over and over and over and over and over, like it's Marshawn Lynch doing an interview. But Aaron Jones coming back here for the Green Bay Packers, I'm pretty positive that they put the caution tape on him big time. This is a running back who matters, and the hamstring injury that he had going into that week 4 against Detroit, he ends up dinging it up after week 1, sits out for 2 weeks, comes back, looked a little gimpy there against Detroit. They get blown out of the water. They put the bubble wrap on him, as they should have. And then the last couple he sits out, coming back for week 7 here. So we've only seen him carry the ball 14 times here, but this is an egregious, truly egregious line that is posted. This was another borderline lock, but there's something that I love in that Miami-Philadelphia game that I just can't get away from in any capacity. But this would be like next on the pecking order. I know I said that about Michael Pittman as well, but both of those are like fringe lock plays. He's got a 70.5 rushing plus receiving total going up against a Detroit team that does nothing on the defensive end. And they're going to start trading pieces here at the deadline. They're going to unload and look completely unrecognizable here in some of these spots. But as I look at Aaron Jones, he's such a weapon in the passing game here for Jordan Love. Low ADOT guy, behind the line of scrimmage, makes tacklers miss. But the main thing for me, everybody puts up crazy yardage on Denver. And I know it's a little bit skewed because of the Miami 70-point game, so want to get that out there. But 260 yards passing through the air per game, 3rd worst in football. 172.3 rushing yards allowed per game, dead last in football. Aaron Jones is just going to run all over these dudes. I think if he is playing football, he will not have any reins attached to him whatsoever, because A.J. Dillon is trash. I apologize. No, I don't. He's actually trash. Skull. Aaron Jones, over 70.5 rushing plus receiving yards. This is just a nuke play. Mega max million thing. But it's a like, because I'm showing restraint for God knows what reason. Just jam this thing. I am a broken person, inside and out, because in Dynasty this season, why wouldn't I have taken Quentin Johnson with my first pick? Why? He went ahead of Zay Flowers. He went ahead of a number of guys. He's got Justin Herbert and Kellen Moore calling plays for him. I mean, what more could I have wanted than a new X wide receiver there. Oh, and then Mike Williams is out. Awesome. I should start him, right? Wrong. It's just been pure Josh Palmer, Justin Herbert. Absolutely no, and I mean absolutely no issues with just dropping Quentin Johnston wherever you have him in any kind of a bench situation. You're obviously not starting him here at this point in time, but at least now I'm going to make up for my mistakes. And here's what I'm going to do. The man who has 6 catches here on the season for 44 yards and barely playing at all, last week targeted only twice, including on that game-ending interception, I'm going to be shorting his receiving props. I just need to get myself back to sane levels. So, of course, he's going to have his big breakout game here, and it is what it is. But I have just been so frustrated trying to follow this guy around, figure out what's going on here. In Kansas City, obviously here as the favorites, the highest total of the main slate, if you will, before we, of course, get to that 51.5 for Miami, Philly. Chargers, Chiefs, we can expect points, but looking at this spread, pretty efficient there at 5.5, 6. The Chiefs haven't really put the foot down here whatsoever. They go and acquire McCole Hardman for, I don't know, Justin Watson's out. If you cared about that, that's another weird thing to care about. But on a team of all McCole Hardmans, they got actual McCole Hardman. So that's cool. Good job, Chiefs. They're pretty good at calling plays, so I think they'll be okay regardless. Rashee Rice playing nearly 50% of snaps, 55% of snaps here as well. Probably going to be the main wide receiver option here for Kansas City going forward because, well, Travis Kelce, he's the pass-catching number one, and it will never change as long as he is alive, period. End of story. Anyway, back to Quentin Johnston. We want to take the under of 2.5 receptions for him. It's it's minus 130 over at DraftKings Sportsbook right now. I made it a half-unit play. Super easy add to the card. Welcome to the main event. Boom, boom, boom. My voice doesn't go all that low, but anyway, the Bulls walkout music, legendary. Now I want to watch The Last Dance. I'm sure producer Jacob would be down for doing that rather than covering a football game. But you know what? I love this football game, as should you. It's going to be epic. The Miami Dolphins taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. What more could you want than the two I would call best offenses for sure? Miami has been setting ridiculous records here. Tua Tagovailoa, now that he's figured out how to fall correctly, life is really, really good for him. Tyreek Hill, he's fast. He's good at catching footballs. And then on the other side of this one, you have Jalen Hurts, this team that made the Super Bowl last year before losing to the Kansas City Swifts. It's just wild to me, friends, that we've got this good of a football game on a primetime. It really just, this is probably the first primetime game any of us have been excited about all season long. I'm probably correct about that, other than maybe opening night, but that doesn't really count. It was a shit football game, and Travis Kelce didn't even play. But Miami and Philly, I'm telling you, it's really about the running back position for me. And I did think about recommending Raheem Mostert here. My data is bearing him out as a pretty good play, but I think there's a little bit of uncertainty. They're going to activate Jeff Wilson Jr. here before this football game. He has quite a bit of familiarity going back to the San Francisco days as well, alongside McDaniels. So probably going to be treading very lightly with the backfield there. I truly think it's still going to be Raheem Mostert, but I mean, he's been getting by on very little efficiency, and same thing with Devon Achane. They've just been setting the opposite of what I said. They've been setting insane efficiency records. 17 carries for 115, 6.8 yards per carry against Carolina. 10 for 65, 6.5 yards per carry against the Giants. He's now had 4 of his 6 games where he averaged at least 6.3 yards per carry. That is stupid to be getting out of your number one running back. Raheem Mostert, like the dude. But again, Jeff Wilson, there's enough uncertainty there for me. Salvin Ahmed, he can come in and do a little bit as well. So I'm going to the Philadelphia side, where I think it has gotten very clear-cut what is happening. And DeAndre Swift is your number one running back by a mile. Now, against the Jets, they ran into some interesting situations where they started throwing checkdowns to him repeatedly. And now this has been, I mean, this was his role in Detroit. Was kind of that backup back to a certain extent, played 40% of snaps behind Jamal Williams, and Jamal Williams would just run it into the end zone repeatedly, and you'd bang your head against the wall owning DeAndre Swift in fantasy. But 10 targets, 8 receptions, 6 targets, 6 catches, 4 receptions against Washington. This is a crazy amount of targets that he's seeing here in the passing game, but it's more so that he's just on the frickin' field. And if you want to be up on Miami here in this spot, you establish the run behind this incredible Philadelphia offensive line. Miami's giving up 114.7 yards per game, which puts them at 20th in the NFL. And if DeAndre Swift has completely won out the position over Kenneth Gainwell, which I believe he has, considering we've only seen we saw 2 carries for him against the Jets. We saw 7 against the Rams, 4 against Washington. Swift to the outside is the absolute play of the day. This is your lock du jour. I'm jamming it. You should be jamming it. This and Devontae Adams, I don't know if I could love something more. DeAndre Swift, 61.5 rushing yards over at DraftKings at -105. Knocks in a boon from the mummy. To the moon we go, my friends. Let's make it ride. Can't wait for this football game, but really can't wait to watch Swift run all over the Dolphins. And that does it for another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks in the NFL streets. You know what to do. Go to that comment section below. Let me know your favorite plays here for Sunday. I'm going to be firing up the premium Discord. You can go join that there at stokastic.com/Lindy. Link is down below. Thank you to producer Jacob. Thank you to Bet365. Again, bet $5, get 150 in bet credits. What could be better? That's pretty awesome. You've got the opportunity to sign up for it in 6 states, that being New Jersey, Ohio, Kentucky, Virginia, Iowa, and Colorado. Whew. Got through it. 21 and over. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Alrighty, y'all. I'll be back next week. I'll be back doing NBA Lindy's, MLB Lindy's. You got a lot of Lindy's over here on the Odd Shopper channel for the next week. So hold down tight. Let's be smart with the bankroll here. We don't have to overextend ourselves, although it's going to be a lot of fun opening night of the NBA. So come join me there. That's my favorite sport to bet. We're going to just be dead honest. And golf, but nobody cares about golf. I care about golf. Until I see you next time, friends, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the NFL streets on Sunday.